Very good evening. You're watching Primetime. I'm Tamanna.
And my name is Ayush Alavadi. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Punjab National Bank hits back at Nirav Modi, asks the prime accused in the 11,000 crore rupee fraud to come up with a plan that can actually work. This even as the ED continues to crack down on assets held by both Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi.
Bloomberg reports that PNB is banking on the sale of Bhushan Steel to shore up its capital base.
Liberty House says it will approach the NCLT a day after Bhushan Power and Steel's Committee of Creditors rejected its bid for the debt-ridden company.
Indian markets close on a flat note after trading with losses for most of the day. The rupee slides below 65 against the US dollar.
The Telecom department announces a strategic plan to improve operational synergies between government-owned companies in the sector. As the PNB fraud continues to unfold, a war of words, or at least of letters, has begun between Punjab National Bank and Nirav Modi. The bank seems to have hit back at Nirav Modi after he turned the tables and blamed the bank for its inability to repay the dues. Vishwanath Nair has all the details in the report.
In a latest communication by Punjab National Bank to Nirav Modi, the bank has claimed that at no point in time did it have any sort of legal exposure towards Nirav Modi or his companies. The bank said that Nirav Modi's companies were getting these letters of undertaking or LOUs in an illegal and fraudulent fashion by conniving with some of the bank employees. The bank also points out that these facilities that his companies had availed were not extended by the bank, in any legal fashion, and at all points these were fraudulent transactions that were happening. The bank also said that Nirav Modi's prior commitments in previous letters, he has pointed out that he was willing to pay the bank by selling parts of his company. It says that these prior commitments were not backed by any kind of amount or timeline given by Nirav Modi, and they've also said that in case you have a concrete plan to submit to the lenders, then they're waiting to hear from him. But that's something that this will happen in the future. Earlier, if you remember, Nirav Modi had written to the banks where he pointed out that the anxiety to recover these amounts that are due to Punjab National Bank, the bank had gone to the public and had disclosed a lot of damning information, which led to Nirav Modi's company losing its value and thereby Modi not being able to sell his company and settle these dues. This is all part of a larger investigation that is continuing into Nirav Modi and his companies, where investigative agencies are trying to recover about 11,400 crore, which is due to Punjab National Bank, essentially through a fraudulent set of transactions which were undertaken by issuing letters of undertaking. Nirav Modi's companies had connived with some Punjab National Bank employees to get access to these fraudulent LOUs with which the companies had accessed buyer's credit from foreign banks. So this is all part of a bigger scheme of things. In the further communications, we will get to know if Nirav Modi intends to actually sell these companies and return the money that is owed to Punjab National Bank.
Well, meanwhile, investigative agencies continued their crackdown in the 11,000 crore rupee PNB fraud. The Enforcement Directorate today seized 9 high-end luxury cars belonging to Nirav Modi. These include a Rolls-Royce, a Mercedes, a Porsche, and other luxury brands as well. The ED has also frozen mutual funds and shares worth 94.5 crore rupees of Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi groups. The CBI and the Enforcement Directorate have also registered 2 FIRs each to probe the case. Punjab National Bank is actually banking on Bhushan Steel's sale to shore up its capital base. Officials in the know have told Bloomberg News that PNB is hoping that a large chunk of the provisioning is made for the 4,900 crore rupee exposure that the bank has. Anto Anthony of Bloomberg News gets us all the details.
Even after Modi says push, the ratings of Punjab National Bank deposits under watch and has made it very clear that 230 basis point worth of risk-weighted assets would be wiped away if the bank has to fully provide for the fraud. the finance ministry officials are saying that there is no need for any additional capital infusion into the bank. Just to put this in perspective, we have to keep in mind that the government had already announced 5,000 crore of capital infusion for Punjab National Bank to be completed in the year to March 31. That is over the next 1 month. The government officials, the finance ministry officials are telling us that the bank would be able to bolster its capital ratios by selling the non-core assets and, more importantly, by writing back the provisions which they have made for Bhushan Steel and Bhushan Power. So PNB is the lead lender in Bhushan Steel and Bhushan Power, and they have an exposure of around 4,900 crore to Bhushan Steel itself. And they have provided over and above what was required for these companies is what the officials are telling us. So there will be a possible write back, according to finance ministry officials, a write back which is enough to cover any shortfall in the capital as the sale of the company concludes towards end of the current year. So as of now, they are completely ruling out any additional capital infusion into the state-owned bank.
Okay, let's have a look at the latest in the Bhushan Power and Steel's insolvency proceedings. Liberty House, which submitted its final bid after the said deadline, has decided to move the NCLT. The UK-based steel company claims it had submitted its bid before the resolution professional had opened Tata Steel and JSW Steel's bids, making it eligible. The company claims that its bid amount was the highest and should have been considered by the lenders.
Well, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, who is on his first visit to India, at a press conference said that India is a core market for the company. The Indian market accounts for 10% of the global trips for Uber. He believes that India will drive Uber's growth going forward and said they will continue to invest in the Indian market. Talking about the regulatory concerns around Uber, he said they're in talks with regulators around the world to make their services better. On his maiden trip to India, the Uber CEO also indicated that he would not go by the advice of investors like SoftBank, who want the company to scale back to countries where it already has a strong market position.
I believe that India, for us, is a high potential market. So while the profitability profile of India is actually getting better, I believe that in order to drive growth for us as a company for the next 5 to 10 years, we should continue to be leaning into India, and that means investing in this market in order to drive growth. The challenge for us is to make sure that we're having the dialogue with the cities and the local regulators that creates a partnership, because ultimately they do want our services in all these cities.
Well, in other news from the tech world, online grocery startup Grofers is in talks to raise $75 to $80 million, according to sources. This comes a month after rival e-grocer Big Basket raised nearly $300 million from the Alibaba Group. Nishant Sharma sums up the implications of this round of funding for Grofers.
Well, online grocery startup Grofers is in final stages to raise close to $75 to $80 million in a fresh round of funding led by one of its existing investors, the SoftBank Group, and according to two people familiar with the development. Now, one of the people told me that this round will value Grofers at a valuation of close to $310 million, which is close to 10 to 11% lower than its previous valuation when it raised $120 million way back in 2015, and at that time it was valued at $350 million. Now, existing investors such as Tiger Global Management and Yuri Milner's personal investment vehicle, Apollo, will also participate in this round of funding. However, Sequoia will skip this investment round. Now, people aware of the deal also told me that SoftBank Group is looking to infuse close to $60 to $65 million alone in this investment round. Now, the proposed deal is set to give much needed ammunition to Grofers, which is locked in intensive battle with its biggest rival, Big Basket, which just weeks ago raised close to $300 million in a round led by the Alibaba Group.
Now, after trading in the red for the greater part of the day, markets ended the day on a flat note. Neeraj Shah now takes us through all the action on the last trade.
It was a bad series, but a okay close to the expiry day. We ended marginally in the red, in fact, for the Nifty Bank, marginally in the green as well. The scene was slightly tough for the broader markets, and the market breadth, the advanced decline ratio, wasn't the most optimistic, but that's to be expected on a choppy, volatile day. What did well and what did not? Let's bring up the sets of gainers and losers. Now, just before the halal inspection result comes out, Both Sun Pharma and Sun Pharma Advanced Research almost closed at the highest points of the day. So good going for both of these names. There was some traction for selective pharma names. So Nifty Pharma was active. Aurobindo Pharma may be out of Nifty, but certainly not out of favor today, up about 2.5% in the session. What is grinding lower though are some of the major auto names. Both Maruti and Tata Motors now continue to go lower. Maruti at a point of time was 10,000, if you remember, now about 8,600. So there's significant fall that is coming to these names. The rupee depreciation impact was probably seen in some of the IT majors. HCL Tech just about weathering the storm. Tech Mahindra about 1.25%, and a couple of mid-sized names, Persistent Systems, NIT, etc., doing reasonably okay for themselves in the session. Couple of smaller names and actually a couple of pockets which did well. One of them was the housing finance name. So Repco Home Finance up 3.5. Growth actually came off but was trading in the positive for most part of the trading day as well. So that pocket seems to be doing reasonably okay. Biocon was amongst the top performers on the index, and which is why it deserves a mention here. But last but not the least, you have to bring out Vakrangi Software that continues to grind lower. Another 5% down now. This has come back to the price at which, from which the recovery had started for Vakrangi. That's being sold into big time.
Well, Kenneth Andrade believes Indian markets could correct another 5 to 10% from here on. He also believes that such corrections are crucial to attract investments.
Always remember, the most efficient companies get created on a down cycle. Always get created on a down cycle. And that's why you have to go, that's when you have to go shopping.
Yeah, I think the last time you said that you are a man who likes, I think it was not depression, some other word that we used, but you mentioned that you like that because you probably get to see companies face this test and maybe get better valuations.
You need a cyclical downside. In every industry, you need one.
Okay. You believe a large, meaningful course correction could be heading our way in 2018. I know you said that you don't want to predict prices, but just wondering, do you believe a drawdown inevitably is in store in 2018?
There's lots of events and valuations are high, so you could get about a volatility now and then.
Yeah. Would it be large enough to unnerve people, or do you believe a 5-10% would be about it?
I would like to hang my hat on the latter statement. A 5 to 10% correction is more like it. Of course, the damage it can do to some of the other stocks will be reasonably high.
Now, the Telecom department has come up with a strategic plan to improve the operational synergy of public sector undertakings in the sector. Bhanvi Arora now gets us all the details in this report.
The Telecom department has announced a strategic plan today for all the PSUs to come together for operational synergy. Now, these PSUs include MTNL, BSNL, ITI, CDOT, TCIL and TEC. The plan includes effective utilization of manpower among these PSUs. In some PSUs, there is an excess manpower, whereas in others there is a shortage. So they want to pool in resources. Other recommendations include deployment and training of manpower among the PSUs. There is also a recommendation of optimum utilization of land and space among the public sector undertakings. Other recommendations include resolving legal disputes before the Department of Telecom rather than approaching the court against each other. Now, this strategic plan was decided in January 2016 by the Department of Telecom for the PSUs to work efficiently. The Telecom Minister has said that a review mechanism will be in place and the plan will be implemented in the next 6 months.
Fact that, in the recent few months, out of 5 units of ITI, 4 have actually been able to turn around and show a profit, clearly shows that it's not too late. And in fact, as I mentioned, all these new programs that are being rolled out, and given the rate at which India is digitizing, the future of IoT in India, the future of 5G, all these are huge business opportunities which are yet to be harnessed. So this synergy is to ensure that these PSUs are in a good position to make sure that those business opportunities are not missed.
Well, in other news, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority tore into private hospitals in Delhi NCR for unethical profiteering from various activities. In a report, NPPA slammed private hospitals for making exorbitantly high margins on drugs and consumables. Krishanu Mukherjee from Bloomberg Quint sums up the takeaways from the NPPA report.
The NPPA came out with a report on private hospitals in Delhi, which was actually nothing short of tearing into those hospitals for unethically overcharging for drugs and other consumables all across Delhi and NCR. Now, this comes in the backdrop of complaints being filed by relatives of deceased patients who claimed rather that they were overcharged exorbitantly for several drugs and other consumables by the hospitals, and even after their relatives died in those hospitals, the bodies were not released for days at a stretch. Now, the NPPA in its report clearly showed that some of these hospitals that the report is on, 4 hospitals in Delhi NCR, were known to be having margins of as high as 2,100%, which is 22 times of the price at which they would have bought those drugs and consumables. This goes particularly for syringes and cannulae. These prices go up that high. Apart from that, NPPA also mentioned that these hospitals were charging higher rates for diagnostic services as well in their hospitals compared to other private diagnostic centers in the city. Apart from diagnostics, also what hospitals were overcharging for and actually making more margins and more profits out of was in-house pharmacies that most of the hospitals maintain these days, which NPPA said charge way higher rates compared to other pharmacies across the city. Now, NPPA mentioned all these points and said they were monitoring the situation, but when it goes to the powers of the NPPA, they do not have any powers actually to take any action against these hospitals.
Well, the Aadhaar hearing continued at the Supreme Court today. Senior advocate Gopal Subramaniam concluded his arguments on behalf of the petitioners. Arpan Chaturvedi now brings us a gist of all the court action in this report.
Well, Senior Advocate Gopal Subramaniam was again arguing today on behalf of the petitioners, and he has concluded his argument. Today's focus mostly was on the Aadhaar Act and the various aspects where he argued as to why that is illegal as it leads to exclusion. And one of the main points he argued on was the fact of exclusion, and he said that it's a very, very important thing that has to be kept in mind. And of course, he said that there have been deaths which have resulted due to lack of Aadhaar and services being denied. And of course, he asked the court that the court should order that in every such case where such deaths have happened, there must be exemplary compensation. The central government must be asked to pay that. Apart from that, of course, there was also a brief discussion again on the state resident data hubs, which earlier, of course, these were state-controlled repositories which had held the biometric details. And Senior Advocate Rakesh Dwivedi, who's from the other side, got up and said that this was a project of an earlier government, and all the biometric data that was there with the SRDH has been completely destroyed. And after that, of course, now the hearing will continue on March 6th because there will be a week-long break for the holy holidays in the Supreme Court. And after that, of course, Senior Advocate Arvind Attar will continue his arguments on behalf of the petitioners.
Well, the Allahabad High Court today rejected a petition seeking re-investigation into Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's alleged role in the 2007 riots in Gorakhpur. The petitioners had requested for an independent CBI probe into the matter. In May last year, the Uttar Pradesh government had denied permission to the Allahabad High Court to try Chief Minister Adityanath. The High Court had earlier also exempted Yogi Adityanath from personal appearance and had allowed him to ratify the writ petition.
Well, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's India visit is facing one hurdle after another. Trudeau found himself in the midst of yet another controversy after an invite was issued to a convicted Khalistan terrorist for a dinner at the Canadian High Commission in Delhi. The Canadian Prime Minister's office was quick to get into damage control mode, cancelling the invite issued to Jaspal Atwal. Atwal was convicted in 1986 for trying to kill a Punjab Cabinet Minister Malkiat Singh Sidhu in Vancouver. What made matters worse for Trudeau was the fact that media reports showed pictures of his wife Sophie with Atwal at a function during his visit to Mumbai. Trudeau has promised strict action, saying he and his government have taken the issue very seriously.
Never should have received an invitation, and as soon as we found out, we rescinded the invitation immediately. The Member of Parliament who included this individual has and will assume full responsibility for his actions.
While the Canadian authorities look into the big diplomatic blunder, the Indian government seems to be miffed as to how Atwal was issued a visa in the first place. MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar said today that he had no idea as to how he obtained a visa.
तो ये है कि वो यहाँ आए कैसे और उनको वीज़ा कैसे मिला, और मैंने बताया कि जो उसकी हम छानबीन कर रहे हैं कि किस परिस्थिति में आए वो, कैसे आए। और जैसा आप लोगों को पता है कि इंडिया में आने का काफ़ी जरिया होता है, जैसे ई वीज़ा होते हैं, कुछ कंट्रीज़ के साथ हमारा है, कुछ कंट्रीज़ के साथ फ्री वीज़ा ऑन अराइवल है। तो ये हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि किस टाइप का वीज़ा से वो आए हैं यहाँ। जहाँ तक उनका ये प्रश्न है कि वो कुछ फोटोग्राफ्स में कैसे दिखे, तो जहाँ तक मेरी जानकारी है कि कैनेडियन एम्बेसी और कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट ने उस पर क्लैरिफिकेशन दे दी है, और उसी वजह से जो आज का रिसेप्शन था उन्होंने वहाँ से उनका नाम भी हटा दिया है, उनका विड्रॉ भी कर लिया इन्विटेशन।
So, Tamanna, visa on arrival, e-visa, whatever it is, how on earth did a convicted felon enter the country, attend the dinner, a diplomatic dinner, and get a visa in the first place?
Well, they're saying he's come as a private citizen, and while the Indian government may be upset diplomatically, we're now on this hunt to find out how it happened. Coming back to Trudeau's visit, he's stumbling into one diplomatic blunder after another. We're going to be talking about it a bit more in detail on Primetime Debate this evening, finding out what's going on and why it's all going wrong. Dhruva Jayashankar is going to be joining me on that chat. Do stay tuned. Meanwhile, Army Chief Bipin Rawat's comments on the rise of the All India United Democratic Front in Assam has created a controversy. Speaking at a seminar yesterday, Rawat warned against the sudden rise of the AIUDF and the influx of people from Bangladesh. The All India United Democratic Front has hit out at General Rawat for indulging in politics and urged President Ramnath Kovind to take note of Rawat's remarks about his party. The army has backed its chief and said there is nothing political or religious in Rawat's comments.
एक तो जनरल रावत साहब ने जो कहा कि आसाम का डेमोक्रेटिक चेंज अगर वो हो रहा है तो ये गवर्नमेंट का काम है। हमने बाकायदा मैंने पार्लियामेंट में कई मर्तबा ये कहा कि चेयरमैन साहब हमारे माथे से बांग्लादेशी का दांत दूर दीजिए। हम लोग को बगैर बांग्लादेशी के इंडियन नेशनल लोग हमको इंडियन की हैसियत से जीने का हक दीजिए।
कि वो आर्मी चीफ ऐसे बोलें तो नहीं बोलना चाहिए। एक तरफ वो डेमोक्रेसी की बात करते हैं, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात करते हैं, और आर्मी चीफ अपनी जानकारी दे रहे हैं। वो तो ये नहीं करें कि आज हमारी 6th बटालियन पठानकोट से की तरफ से पाकिस्तान में जाने वाली है। ये तो गद्दारी होगी वो बोलेगा। तो ऑपरेशंस का अब वो तथ्य बता रहे हैं कि इस कारण से ये हो गया है, तो क्यों नहीं बता सकते।
Goa Chief Minister Manohar Parrikar today presented the state budget hours after being discharged from a hospital in Mumbai. Parrikar, who was hospitalized for a pancreatic ailment since February 15th, also chaired a state cabinet meeting upon his return. The Chief Minister, however, said that his interaction with the public will be limited for some time, as advised by doctors. US jobless claims have hit a 45-year low last week. Initial jobless claims dropped to 222,000, suggesting jobs growth in the month. This is the 155th straight week when the jobless claims have remained below 3 lakhs. The labour market is near full employment, with the unemployment rate staying at a 17-year low.
Well, good news there for the American economy. That's all the time we have on Primetime this evening, but do stay tuned because Primetime Debate comes up next. We're speaking first about Justin Trudeau's trip and why everything seems to be going wrong. One diplomatic blunder after the next. But the second subject we're speaking about, Ayush, is something I'm very excited about because we're talking to Jean from Bloomberg News, who lives in Cape Town.
Okay.
He speaks about his experience living in a city waiting for 0 day, where the taps run dry. They can shower only for 90 seconds a day. There's a limit on how many times you can wash your hands or wash your hair. And this comes at a time when Bengaluru has made it to the list of cities which could face drinking water shortage by 2030.
There are some lessons to be learned, perhaps?
Some lessons to be learned. Do stay tuned for that conversation on our Primetime debate coming up next.